All right, so we're on chapter 9. One more chapter to go with Michi's book, and then we're going to switch over to Chris Bray's book, mainly to focus. He's got a number of things. It's an introductory book, but he's got a number of topics on cubing. So I want to spend a lot of time on cubing, using that book as a basis, and then I want to add stuff to bring it to a little more advanced level than is in his book. His book is designed for beginners, and it serves that fairly well. But I'd like to keep it kind of as the Michi's pattern, where it's not just for beginners. It will take you to, if you understand it extremely well, very competent, advanced, even open level type of player, so that it covers a wider range. But certainly to give the basics of people. And a lot of people have trouble with cubing, and I can see why. I couldn't find many good books that taught it. They're either very too difficult with too complex mathematics, or too simple, or some combination of both. So we'll try to bridge the gap there. I'm not sure how that will work, but there's a gap that can be filled, I think, here. So right now, though, we are in chapter 9. I think this is one of the more interesting chapters of Michi's Endgame book, and that it's one of those situations where it doesn't come up very often, but when it does come up, it's very important that you know how to handle it. And so what Michi's called this the post ace point game, which is kind of an odd title, but and it really doesn't apply to necessarily only to post ace point games, but it applies to any time that you've gotten a late hit, and you're now bearing off, and your opponent has a bunch of checkers that he's borne off, but he's on the bar. And so we're in a situation now where, like in the example, we've taken off one checker, and our opponent's taken off 8, and we have a 6-5, and we can play reasonably. The normal way to play this, if your opponent didn't have any checkers off, would be just to clear the 6 point. However, given that your opponent has 8 checkers off, it might be perfectly reasonable to take the 6 and the 5 point, or clear, take a checker off from the 6 and the 5. Because if your opponent comes in, you're not likely to win the bear off anyway. And so the question is, well, how do you determine that? How do you know when you should peel or when you should play safe? So that's the whole point of Michi's chapter here. And so he has a method, which I'll try to summarize. I don't think that I wasn't thrilled with the way that he summarized it, and I found it a little bit confusing. So hopefully I'll be able to explain it a little bit better. But basically, what we're going to do is we're going to, after your roll is complete, you're going to count the number of rolls that you have left to bear off, and then you compare that with the number of rolls that your opponent has left to bear off. And if you are ahead, you're going to choose the safe play. And if you're behind, you're going to choose the more aggressive play. Basically, you're going to peel another checker and leave a shot, as opposed to playing it safe. So that's, again, that doesn't come up that often, but when you're in this situation, it's really important to know. Well, you find that some of these errors are really big if you make the wrong choice. So how do we do that? Well, there's a methodology which you really have to practice. And it took me a while to figure out what Michi was talking about. And I had to go through it a number of times to do it. So I tried to, hopefully I've made it a little bit simpler. So, but basically you're going to count your rolls to bear off for you and your opponent. And you're going to count your count is after your roll, after you've done your roll. So since you have a choice, so your first brush with it would be to take the safe play, and which means don't leave a blot, and then see how many rolls that you have left. And then if you're behind after your safe play, then you're going to peel. It means that you're going to go back and not do the safe play. You're going to take the extra checker off and leave the shot. So that's how that works. Now, a couple of things, I didn't mention it here. If you have an even number, we're not going to count. We're not going to take account doubles. And if you, as bearing off, have an even number of rolls, that's your number. You can basically take your checkers, divide by 2. That's the number of rolls. If you have an odd number, you're going to round up. So if you have 13 checkers, that's 7 rolls, not 6.5. It's 7 for the purposes of this method. Now, how do you treat black is on the bar? How do you treat that? And so Michi's rule is that's 4. That's 4 rolls to get black on the bar around. And that's just perfect for the methodology that he has. So obviously the black could dance 2 or 3 more times, and in which case you're going to win. Or you could come right in which case 4 rolls was too high, and you'll probably lose. But for purposes of the choice that you have to make, counting it for 4 rolls is what you want to do. The other adjustment he makes is subtract a half a roll from your opponent for this exercise, for this methodology. And we also will use half rolls for our opponent, where we're not going to use it for ours. Okay, so let's take this example that's I've got on the screen and see how we would do it. So we're going to look here, and we've got 14 checkers left, and so we can either take 2 off from the 6 and the 5, or we can clear the 6 point. And so what Michi seems to recommend is, okay, take the safe play first, and then see how that works off. So we'll do 6-5 and 6 off and 6 to 1. Now step 2 is we're going to count our rolls that we have left. So we've got 10, 11, 12, 13 checkers. So that gives us 7. So we have 7 rolls to bear off. Let me see if I can. So we've got 7. Now we're going to compare that to black. So black has 4. That counts as 4 on the bar. 5, 6, 7, minus 1/2. Okay, so that's 6.5. Okay, does everyone see that? It's.
You can go through black's count again, please.
Okay, yeah, 4.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're on the bar. 5, 6, 7. Okay.
Yeah, but what about the checker you brought all the way around?
Well, the one on the bar counts 4 rolls.
Oh. Not 4 crossovers, 4 rows.
Yeah, we're not talking about crossovers. Yeah, just if Bill Roberti came up with his own methodology for doing this same type of exercise, which he counted crossovers, and that was in his 501 essential backgammon problems book. But this one seems to be a little more accurate. I went through and looked at all his problems, and this method gets the same answers that he did, and then some of the answers that he got, or some of the answers you would get using his method, turn out to be a little bit off. So I think Michi's method is a little bit better. So if you know that method, you're going to get confused. Not knowing that method is helpful because it won't confuse you on this. But Michi is not talking about crossovers. He's talking about
That's what I got confused about. So when you say 4 rolls, that allows for the fact that sometimes black won't come in.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And as I said, obviously, if black comes in right away, he's got a tremendous advantage. And you've got a tough, with all in this case, with all yellow's checkers here, it's not likely yellow's going to win if black comes in right away. If black dances, 2 or 3 times, then white's going to have an easy go of it, because black is going to still be on the bar. But for purposes of determining whether for this particular roll you should take 2 off or 1 off, you assume 4. That black will take 4 rolls to get that checker on the bar off, around the board and off. Okay, so we've gone through this. If we make the safe play, we've got 7 rolls, and black has 6.5. So what does that mean?
Gary, this is Richard. Could you recap how you got that half?
Yes. Okay. That's where are you, Richard? By the way, you're not showing up on the screen. Or are you? Well, anyway. So yeah, that's part.
I'm not as pretty as you are.
You're hiding. So that's where we got the half. That's just part of the methodology. And Michi says it's because black will be on roll, so he takes half off of that. It doesn't matter, why. That's just part of the methodology. It's just like the 4. That's just part of the methodology. I presume you could come up with another reason, but probably the way that these work out is that people will sit around and play with it and come up with a number that works for this. So you might just say 3.5 from the bar. That might be an easier way to think about it. But the methodology that Michi lays out in the book is a half. So
okay.
So, again, it's 4 for the one on the bar. It's a half for each checker basically that you have to go off, and then minus 1/2 after that. So if I were doing it, I would probably just say 3.5 from the bar, and forget about this extra, half. It's more, it's more noise than is necessary. But again, this is the way Michi does it. In fact, Michi, it's a little bit confusing with the half, but okay. So anyway, back to the okay. So the question then is, what's the right answer? And what we've said is 7. 7 if we play safe versus 6.5. That should tell us that we want to not play safe and peel, which is the right answer. And that's a fairly, it's not quite a blunder, but it's a fairly sizable error if you get that one wrong. Let's look at plus. Yeah, it didn't change. So let's look at a couple more. Okay, so this, we're just changing black's situation now. Let me find my. So again, we're going to take the safe play and count.
7 again.
So it's going to be 7. Oops, that's not my counting. There we go. So yeah, 7. It's the same as it was before. We've got 13 checkers. We need 7 rolls to get them off. Again, we're not counting doubles, and we're basically rounding up. So it's 7. What about black? So this is 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, minus 1/2, 7.5. Okay, so 7, this means that we're ahead. 7 is less than 7.5. That means that we should play safe here in this case. Yeah, and in this case, you know, this is a huge blunder to take 2 off and to leave that shot.
Do you think you get the same answer if white held the cube? White to be a bit stronger then. No, if
Yeah, this way. Well, yeah, I probably should be showing. I don't think Michi didn't show. Oh, he did show it with the cube. It's usually going to be this way because black was bearing off, and we got the late hit. So in this
wouldn't
case,
it be white who had the cube, Gary?
yeah, no, I know, but I forgot what the other cube was. Any case, it's a big blunder. It's a big blunder in this case to leave the shot. This one. Well, yeah. If black comes in and hits, he's going to I guess he can't recube here. But well, if black comes in and hits in this case, you know, he's got a pretty good game because we've given up a lot of ground, which we didn't need to give up. Okay, let me erase this stuff. Go to the next example. Another 6-5 again. We should know this. White is 7. What about black?
8 minus 1/2.
Yeah, same. You know, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. 7.5 minus 1/2 is 7. So now it should be basically.
Sorry, Gary, you don't count it as a full roll, that one checker, odd checker?
No, we count it as a half. It's odd that well, I should say odd. For purposes of our roll, our counting, when we have an odd number of checkers, we're going to round up.
Okay.
But we compare that to black, and we're going to count by halves. So this is 7. This is 7 for black, and this is 7 for us. You know, even though we've got 14, we've got 13 checkers to bear off, and black has well 4 plus the 7 checkers here. Again, that's just part of the methodology. Okay, so we got 7 to 7. This should be fairly close either way. It's not that close, but you know, this one. What did he say? I can't remember what he said. So this one, that methodology doesn't help you that much. This is one of those ones that are kind of in the middle, and it didn't give you the best answer. But again, it's follow the methodology. It's virtually all the ones that I've seen has gotten right using this methodology. I should have noted what he said. This was one of his examples. 9.3. Yeah. Okay, and basically he says you can't get them all right. All right. Now, there are a number of things that you might that if you once you have practice and dig into a little bit that you think might matter. So, for instance, this 4 from the checker, 4 from the bar. It would seem to me that if you were down here, that the 4 from the bar should count for less because you've got 3. You're more likely to come right in. It turns out that doesn't really matter very much. I've looked at it a little bit. I haven't done an extensive analysis of it, but I've checked out a few, and it doesn't make that much difference once we get that far. So, but one thing that did matter was a gap. So if you have a gap on the ace point, you're going to add half a roll to black's total. And the exception is that unless there's 4 checkers or less. So we'll look at that in a minute. So here, again, we're looking at a white here with 7. Black has 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half, minus a half. And so it's 7 to 7. Now black has the gap. So add another half to it, so 7.5. So in this case, it's 7 to 7.5. And this is going to play safe. Whoops. That doesn't belong there. And it's the safe play. Okay. So that's just, let's see what this one was. Okay. So here's a case where we have the gap, but Michi's rule is that if you have 4 checkers or less, you don't count the gap. So let's count these now, just to practice. Oops. So first thing we do, we're going to play safe and then count. So we got, let me draw it. Well, we can count it. So we got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. That's 6. So we've got 6 come up. Black has 4, 5, and 6. 6 minus a half. So this is 5.5. Okay, so that means that the roll here should be to leave the shot. I'm sorry, leave the shot, take 2 off.
Even so that gap on the black's ace point doesn't matter.
Yes, it's the gap here that if there's a gap, we would penalize black a half unless there are 4 checkers or less here, and then we don't penalize them. Okay, so let's go through a few more. Erase. Yeah, so here's another type of situation that comes up. I'm sure I have this right here. Yeah, okay. And so here the question is, What's the safe play? And, you know, obviously that we're going to either take this checker off here and leave the blot, or we're going to play safe. So this is playing safe. So let's leave it here. We've got
Several
12
ways to play
checkers.
safe.
I'm sorry.
Quite a few ways to play safe. You can move 2 from the 5 point, 2 from the 6 point, or just lift the blot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a separate question. I think, which actually Michi discusses that. I think he concluded that clearing the 6 point was the best play. But that, you know, that wasn't, that's not the point of the exercise. We'll find out in a minute. I think clearing the 6 point is the right play here. But so anyway, let's go through the methodology. So we've got 12 checkers left. That's 6 for us. Black has 4. 5, 6, 7. I'm sorry, 6.5. And more than 5, so there's plus a half. Which is 7 minus a half for being on a roll. So this is 6.5. Okay, so the answer here should be to play safe. If I've got it right, let me see. Oh, we got it again because it looks like this is wrong. 6.5, 6, 4, 5, 6. Oops, shoot. 4, 5, 6, 5, 6.5. Minus half plus half should be 6. Oh, 6 each.
You haven't actually moved the safe play, have you, Harry? Gary? Before
Well, we haven't. Yeah. This. Okay. Yeah. The safe play.
Well,
Let's call this a safe play. Actually, it doesn't matter what we consider the safe play.
yeah. So that gives you 6.
Yeah, because they're all still here. So if they call this a safe play, it's still
Right.
6. And 4, 5, 6 and a half plus a half minus a half is 6. No, it's still 6.5. So the safe play should be right here. Let's see if it's right. 6, 5, 6, 4. Yeah. Now this is interesting. He didn't talk about why, because this is a big difference here between these others. These are, I mean, this play is safe too. And he didn't talk about why that was. Well, I you know, if you think about it, why it is that, okay, if we're, I think I understand. I don't think he talked about it much, but you know, after this roll, if black doesn't come in, then we're favored to just bear off and win. So given that, we're better off playing safe. If black does come in, you know, then we're not favored anymore. So I guess we make this the safe play because if black doesn't come in, then we're, you know, then we want to play safe from here on out because we don't want to get hit. I think that's the idea here. Michi didn't really talk about that.
Gary, does any of this have anything? If you understand this, does any of this affect your cubing or recubing decisions?
Well, not at this point. because if you look at, we're applying this in situations where it's a 50-50 game, pretty much. And well, and you know, if if we're at 6 here, and let's say black was at, you know, what is this, 4, 5 and a half, you know, where black is ahead, then, you know, we're not in a position to cube yet because we're behind or recube. And so, you know, when we're applying the method, it's pretty much an even game, or we're behind. So, you know, after we've applied this method and gotten ahead, then maybe we can think about recubing. Because then we'll be ahead. You know, we're not going to want to recube when we're behind, most of the time anyway. So to answer your question, you know, this is not going to impact our cube decisions. It shouldn't impact our cube decisions right now. Although, I mean, you know, this will tell you whether you're ahead or behind at some point. So, you know, you that may not be clear until you go and count the rolls, and then you may find out that you're way behind. So obviously you're not going to cube. And if you were way ahead, there are other methods I would use that are better than this. This I would just use to determine whether you would leave whether you're going to play safe or peel the extra checker and leave a block.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, interesting. Let's look at this case where we only had 3. This we should be taking the checker off. Yeah. Because here we've got 12 versus 4, 5 and a half. So it's 6 versus 5 and a half. So we want to take the checker off. Although interesting, that's a pretty close decision. Okay, let's do just one last one. This one I got from Bill Roberti's book. And I went to see, he covered the same issue and he did it a little bit differently by counting crossovers. Counting crossovers I thought was easier than doing this, than Michi's method. But part of it is that Michi's method, I don't think it was as well written as it could have been. And as we pointed out, calling this 4 and then subtracting a half is an extra step. You could just call this 3 and a half, and that would save a step and save some confusion. So anyway, looking at this one again, it's the same idea. We can peel 2 checkers or play safely with 1. And so what's the, without moving the checkers, what's yellow's count?
So we go for yellow's count after the safe play, don't we?
Yes. 10, 11, 12, 13.
Well, it's 6 then, isn't it?
Yep, 6. Because we're going to take this one off and move that one up, and then we've got 12 checkers left, so it's 6. So here's 4.
Oh. 6 and a half.
5, 6, 7 minus a half. So it's 6 to 6 and a half.
Play safe according to the rule.
So it's the safe play.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5. So clear the 5 point, and fairly big blunder to leave it there.
And what does Roberti say?
He came up with the same answer. Roberti's method was to count the number of crossovers. So he would say we've got 10, 11, 12, 13 crossovers here for white. And he would say black has 5 crossovers for the one on the bar. And so that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's 11. And Roberti's rule was if you're within 2, if you're 4 behind or more, you're going to peel the extra checker and leave the block. If you're 2 behind or less or ahead, then you're going to play safe. And if you're 3 behind, then it's a toss-up. So he would give you the same answer here for this case. But I think Michi's method is a little more accurate. So and I would only learn one method here. When this comes up, it's very handy. But with all it's a typical backgammon where if you're in a very unique situation, it's very important to know the situation and how to play it. But a lot of the situations that are like that don't come up very often. It's like knowing how to play a back game. If you're in a back game, you better know how to play it, or you're going to make some potentially could make some really big mistakes. But most of the time, you're not going to play a back game, so you don't use that knowledge. And here, this doesn't happen that often, but when it does happen, it's kind of important that you get it right. I mean, this is a big blunder here to take 2 off as opposed to playing safely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it for chapter 9. And we will finish Michi's book next
Gary,
time. Yeah.
this is Richard. Can we get a copy of your document there?
Yes, I will. I will put this on the Google account where you can get the video. So it will be there.
Okay.
And I have chapters. I have most of it summarized here. Oops, this is chapter 9. I did not finish all the advanced chapter 8 with all the different items that were there, but chapters 1 through 7 are here, and they're summarized.
That'd be great.
And then I didn't finish all of chapter 8. I'll put that in. So let me get that in, and I'll put it up to the onto the Google account, and then you can have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I find this method these things very useful. I mean, it's hard to. I mean, you've read the book and gone over it, and it's very easy to forget it. But if you have kind of notes like this that you can understand, I made the notes here, so I understand it. I find it very helpful to go back and review this every once in a while, and you can pretty much cover the whole book just by jogging your memory of what he was talking about, and some of the key features here. So I find this type of thing very helpful, and you're welcome to use it. However, if you go over these and you don't remember what it means, you're better off making your own notes and doing it in a way that you understand it. But yeah, so certainly these will be available. And let me get rid of this. It also helps, so if you try things like this method, which is a little bit confusing, it's very instructive to go and make your own set of notes to try to figure out what he's talking about, and then to consolidate it. For instance, if I were rewriting this again, if I was rewriting Michi's chapter, I wouldn't talk about 4 rolls here for this checker. I would just say 3.5, because there's the extra half is just an extra step that you don't need, because it's always you're always going to apply the half. So why do that? Anyway, okay, so that's it. Let me turn off the recording.